People who escaped authoritarian governments. When did you know it was the right time for you to leave your country? Not me, but I remember asking my mom why she left the Philippines in the 70s. She explained about the Marcos regime and how he declared martial law. She said when that was announced, she knew she had to leave. She had been working towards moving anyway, but she said that was her cue to hurry it up. I'm from Myanmar, Burma. Most of us young people left the country when they enacted the conscription law. Now, you can't leave the country unless you've done military service, which in this case means until you die because there's a civil war going on, and they need more meat for the meat grinder. My granddad left Poland after he was thrown in a concentration camp and escaped. Made it to the UK. He was 16 in 1939. The police just started harassing people on the streets after one of the protests in Belarus. Some of them got killed, some injured, thousands were imprisoned and tortured there. It is still happening. Also, I kind of was prepared for that psychologically for a long time before the violence erupted, because it was concealed for years. So when everything happened, I just took the first morning flight and left for another country. This is in 2 words. The story's a bit more complicated, obviously. I left for Kiev first, and in a week went to Germany. Migrating through Ukrainian border has been a popular route for many of my countrymen. In many cases, before the war started, they crossed the border themselves, as they did not need visa for that. I also already had a Schengen visa, as I was granted a fellowship with German University in March 2020, which was conducted in distant mode because of COVID-19. So the choice of destination was, in a way, a no-brainer. I was granted extension of my fellowship until December. Then I went to Lithuania to work for Tsikhanouskaya's office, our elected president. After that, I received an offer from German University and finally settled in Germany. Then I brought my family here as well, which was also a story in itself, as the border was closed when the Belarusian regime forcefully landed the plane with Protasevich. When I went to the market and found nothing at all but bones. When I was pointed at with a gun to my face to be robbed for the umpteenth time. When one of my neighbors got shot, hearing his relatives screaming. When kids died around me in protests. When we got tear-gassed and shot at by the National Guards. When the dictator was dancing salsa in mandatory national transmission while he celebrated the death of protesters. I left Venezuela in 2016 and it still hurts. When they arrested members of the opposition party for holding a primary. When police stormed and shut down headquarters of the only newspaper still critical of the government. When nonviolent protesters were given longer sentences than violent convicts for having posters in their backpacks. When the heads of government were one by one replaced by toads with neither qualifications nor experience, purely based on their ass-kissing rhetoric. When they start passing legislation that you know will hurt people, and they don't care. When an extra panel of judges were suddenly appointed above the Supreme Court, with final decision on interpreting the law. When caring about it makes you lose sleep and starts to affect your work quality. It was never one thing, but you just see it getting worse and worse step by step, and you make a judgment call. The timing and reasons will be different between all your friends and family. When my parents decided it was time to leave Saigon in 1979 and told us we're going to go see Grandma and we're going to leave tonight, but you can't tell anyone, and you have to be real quiet. When there was no electricity, no water, the police attacking people, and the inflation was like 1,000%. I used to know a cleaner whom was from Haiti. Right time was in 1980 when the Tonton Macoute came for her husband, a political dissident. That was the last time her and the kids saw him. And in the case of my first girlfriend, the daughter of a South Vietnamese general, they left the country in a small boat when Saigon fell. During the crossing, the smugglers told her parents, "Either you give up all your gold or we'll rape the women and throw you into the sea." They arrived in France with nothing. The father, a doctor, was then able to work, but not for the same salary as the French. He died a few years later, plunging the whole family into poverty. Once in a while, her mother would tell about what she had left in Vietnam,